Hey y'all, welcome back to A Soulful Tea. And on this episode, I am going to discuss adultification biases. So if you're just tuning in and you may not know what adultification biases is, it is when Black children are presumed and treated as if they are older than what they really are. Yesterday, I observed this, but I couldn't find the words to articulate exactly what I was seeing until I got home and I began to reflect on my own childhood. I realized that Black children have it hard here in America. I always say that if you're raising a child in America, you're not just raising that child alone. There are four groups of people that are raising your child. You have the parents. Majority of Black children are being raised in single homes by Black women, by single Black women. Then you have a small proportion of people raising their children in a two-parent household. Then you have family members. Because the Black community is like a melting pot, you have subgroups. We don't have just one culture, right? So when you're raising your child a specific way in your household, and then they go into somebody else's house, they may see things and be exposed to things that you don't want them to be exposed to. I reflected on my childhood and I remember my mom just sheltering us. And when I was younger, I didn't understand why. But at 31, I realized that that was one of the best things she could have ever done. Because children go into other people's homes. It could be friends, it could be family, and they are exposed to things that they should not be exposed to. Many children are molested. Many children are seeing things that grooms them to think that they're older than what they are. Then you have the third group, which is the school system. When children are placed in the school system for 8 hours a day, majority of their life, they are seeing things, they are experiencing peer pressure, and that can make them think that they're older than what they are. And teachers can look at them and it can be some adultification biases placed on them as well. So the fourth group of people that I feel is raising the children here in America is social media. Children spend a lot of time on social media. And it's starting at a very, very early age where children are having access to like tablets and they are on YouTube for hours. Mind boggling to me that children don't spend much time with their parents, but spend a lot more time on social media apps, a lot more time in school, a lot more time with other friends and family. And then a lot of parents wonder why there is a sense of disconnect when the child becomes of age. I remember growing up, older Black women would say things like, oh, that child is too fast, because the child could have been 12, 13 years old, but was doing things that were adult like, right? But instead of us throwing labels on people, on children, specifically Black children, I think that we have to sit down and we have to start having conversations on the behaviors that we're seeing. I also heard older Black men say things like, man up, or stop acting like a little girl, right? So we automatically have it implanted in our heads, these biases that does a lot of damage to our children. Adultification biases can be very harmful to Black children. Black children are criminalized at the highest rate amongst any other ethnic group. Black children are perceived as being more mature and less innocent. Black children do not receive protection, nurturing, or comfort when they're going through tough situations. Black children receive harsher treatment. Black children are underreported or misreported when something bad has happened to them. Black children's emotions and feelings are minimized when adultification biases are placed upon the child. Black children are labeled as aggressive, labeled as hostile when they express how they feel. Did some reflecting yesterday, and I'm just like, the labels. We have to remember as people that labels hurt. Labels can do a lot of damage, especially when we're dealing with Black children. If you label the child as being bad, and all the child hears is that they're a bad child, eventually the child will behave in a bad manner. Now, there's a lot that goes on in our communities in which our children are groomed to behave older than what they are. So, I have solutions that could possibly help. My solutions would be the 3 A's. The first A is acknowledge. Acknowledge your biases. We all have biases. Many times, biases are formulated in our childhood. And we don't even realize that these are biases and they're wrong until we become adults. So acknowledge your biases. Ask yourself, where did these biases come from? How is this bias harming the child? Before we begin to project our adultification biases on the children, we have to do the internal work. Next one is apologize when it happens. We don't live in a society where apologizing is normalized, but we're not perfect people. So apologize when you have projected your adultification biases onto a child. And then action. Take action to gain the knowledge you need. Take action to inform yourself on what adultification biases is. It takes work. It takes work in order for us to raise happy, loving, thriving, safe Black children here in America. We have to begin to inform ourselves on what adultification biases is and the harm that it causes on the Black child. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Soulful Tea, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Peace.